Welcome back into Hoosier Sports Night. Now for this next segment, we bring in a close friend of the show, Ben Heisler from WIUX. Ben's been covering IU football all of spring practice, and we just wanted to get a little bit of his thoughts here on what's going on so far. So, Ben, what are just some general positives and negatives that you've seen so far over at Memorial Stadium?
Both Casey and Alexis, it's good to be here back inside the Hoosier Sports Night studio. A lot of strengths for this Hoosier team right now, particularly at the quarterback position. It's finally not going to be a battle between Kellen Lewis and Ben Chappell as it was last year. Rather, they just have different roles within the starting lineup. Occasionally, you're going to see Kellen Lewis start off the game at quarterback, use his ability to run the football and pass the football. He's going to be effective. But then Ben Chappell as that steady, straight passing quarterback and possibly allowing Kellen Lewis to be able to use as a wide receiver. And also, guys, their offensive line is going to be a lot better this year. Despite 7 different starting lineups, the running backs, I should say, average 4.5 yards a carry with 19 rushing touchdowns. So that's top since 2001. A lot of strengths right now for the running game and for the passing game. As far as the weaknesses go, guys, I think the wide receivers right now still need to improve. Obviously, Tandon Dawson and DeMarlo Belcher have a lot of skills, but right now they need to fine-tune them. A lot of drop passes last year, and they need to figure out how to get themselves open a little bit. Also, special teams. Who's going to replace Austin Starr right now? You got a guy that's a Lou Garza Award finalist, and Chris Hagerup, he was an honorable mention for Big Ten, but right now he had ACL surgery at the end of the year. Guys, wide receivers and special teams, still a lot of question marks for the Hoosier team.
Now, Ben, the new offense that the Hoosiers are running, you talk about the running game and the passing game doing pretty well during spring practice. How do you see this new offense playing up with these the new offense playing up to the advantage of the Hoosiers?
Well, it's interesting, Alexis, because they're calling it the pistol offense, and they're saying it's a whole new offense. But guys, come on, just take a break for a second. This is pretty much the same offense. Now, the way the pistol offense works is you got a typical 3 wide receiver set. The quarterback is still going to be in a little bit of a closer shotgun formation, and then the running backs are going to be about 3-4 yards behind him. Now, this is good for a couple reasons. First of all, it's an easier exchange between the quarterback and the running back. Now, this is a lot more effective for guys like Brian Payton, guys that are going to really sport themselves up the middle, try and get themselves involved, especially pounding the ball inside. And then for guys like Ben Chappell, this is an opportunity where he's able to check downfield a little bit more, be able to see his receivers. Chappell's a very smart quarterback, but a lot of the time he likes to throw the ball under pressure, and occasionally he'd throw a bad interception. So this is an opportunity now for Ben Chappell to really fine-tune his skills. Kellen Lewis will have a little bit more room to run. I think it's a good system that Matt Canada has really brought into play here.
So as we've said earlier, the spring game this Saturday, April 18th. Ben, what's one thing that you're maybe looking for the Hoosiers to focus in on to have great success in, to kind of wrap up the spring and lead into a good 2009 season?
Well, there's certainly a lot of things that I'm looking at, Casey. I think if I have to narrow it down to one, it has to be what's going to happen with guys like Greg Middleton and Jamie Curler, 2 big seniors at the defensive end position, whether they're going to be able to return to form. Now, Jamie Curlew had an outstanding 2008 campaign with 10.5 sacks, and Greg Middleton, this is 4th all-time on the Hoosiers list with 20 sacks. He had a pretty bad 2008, though, basically was nowhere to be found. So, guys, as long as Curlew and Middleton can return to form, that's going to be an outstanding defensive end base, probably tops in the Big Ten.
And on a little bit of a lighter note, Ben, you got to sit down and have dinner with head coach Bill Lynch.
I did.
Can you just kind of give us some of the highlights and maybe what you guys talked about?
Well, absolutely. And one thing that I really admire Coach Lynch for doing is he finally stepped up to the plate and said, what can I do to get people back into the Rock? And I really admire Coach Lynch for doing this. He's now finally taken on the Coach Tom Crean and the Coach Terry Hepner approach of finally reaching out to the public. And these public care about IU football. He just needs to find a way to motivate them. So what he did, guys, is he brought in the student base. He brought in a lot of student leaders and said, what can we do? How can we all work together? I think it's a wonderful thing that he's doing, and I think students are going to respond to that. It's a good football team. It's a talented team. Hopefully they can make it back to a bowl game and start playing for a full house at the Rock.
Well, let's certainly hope that next year is more like 2007 than 2008. Obviously, last year, not a good year, but things are looking up. Thanks, as always, Ben, for coming in. Your insight is always welcome. And thank you for watching this edition of Hoosier Sports Night. We'll be back next week with a full version as we recap the spring game. The baseball team welcomes Penn State this weekend, and we will have more Little 500 previewing coverage. For Alexis Hosier and, again, for Ben Heisler, I'm Casey Richards. Thanks for watching Hoosier Sports Night.